planning board meeting on Tuesday, April 4th will come to order. Everything that's on the agenda other than Country Club Circle will be addressed tonight. So, I guess the first item is the DPW.
That's correct. We have the new DPW director, James Stanford here, as well as the town engineer, John
Welcome.
Borghese.
Welcome.
I wanted to say Jim. Sorry about that.
Do we have anything in our,
You all in your packets, all of the warrant articles, but they don't have anything for the DPW.
oh, okay. Okay. I think there's only certain ones that we opine on anyway, so. Do we have the list anywhere of all the items, or do you guys, that we could look at?
I don't have a list. We weren't provided a list from the warrant article.
Okay, do you guys have a list?
We do have a list. I can certainly go through all.
Do we have it electronically so we can put it up on the board and,
On the share drive.
That's mine. Is it on yours?
It's not. It's not.
I can access Bruce's files, but I'm trying to think if there's a summary in there.
Do we have access to the website? Because you could get it right off of the.
You have access to the website. I do have a draft warrant, but I don't know if it has.
Right off the website.
This guy.
Yes,
Right.
the CIP is.
Yeah.
I have an explanation, but I don't have any. Where is that one? On the bottom.
More. Because this is separate.
Yeah.
Right in the
Right
warrant.
on, yeah, right on the website.
Yeah, they're copy of it.
Right.
We have a paper copy of it, so I'll just run and make a copy of this
okay.
one.
yeah, okay.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it would be a lot easier than to guess
Okay.
it, what they are, so I'd rather wait a couple minutes. While we're doing this, can we do the, do you need to look something up, or is she just gonna print it?
She's just gonna print it.
Okay, can we do the 1975 sale before May? Or is that complicated?
It's a little bit complicated, but not entirely.
Well, why don't we get started on that? Well,
Okay.
you guys can stay there, you don't have to go. We're just gonna look right here, so.
Okay.
So the applicant came before the board for the frontage exception, the access other than legal frontage in the common driveway. So now they are looking to A&R the lot in order to get their land disturbance permit. One note that I did want to make is that, as you can see, there is parcel A. It was on the site plan. They are looking to give 20 feet of additional frontage and 190 square feet of space to be labeled non-buildable to the neighbor, who is her brother, Michael LaChapelle. And so the intent is that they would like to give the property enough frontage so that they can divide the lot into 3.
Okay, we'll come back to that.
Yeah, it's a little bit more complicated. There was an oversight on my behalf. I didn't mention it during the site plan.
Okay, we have the list. I forget which ones are ours, but we might as well, do you want to, everybody take a look and ask questions on the ones they want to ask questions on? Yeah. No, I'm speaking with the board here. I think it would be with us. It might be easier to just go through to look at this and see which items we have questions on, rather than to go through, like some of them are, we don't have to jump through every one.
What's the forestry vehicle?
I'm sorry, what was that?
What's the forestry vehicle?
I don't think that's public works.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Right.
so.
Whose is it if it isn't Public Works?
I honestly don't know. Yeah.
Okay, well, let's store that away. It's a legitimate
Yeah.
question. Maybe we could ask the town manager. The first item that's probably we ought to talk about a little bit is the facilities master plan. I didn't know, I presume the town manager's going to give a presentation on that at town meeting, but what's the highlights of it?
Again, that's a project that isn't Public Works. If I could just give a brief overview of the projects that are included within Public Works.
Okay.
Essentially, it involves any of the road infrastructure, and it's broken up into three categories. We have within the general roads and highway and streets operating budget, as well as the water enterprise fund and the sewer enterprise fund. As I mentioned with the operating budget, we do have several road projects. We do have a map on the screen with several road projects that we have ongoing. We are going to be including those road projects within, coordinating it within with gas extensions, gas main extensions, as well as other utility extensions within the areas. The map, they are highlighted in red. So we have several streets that we're going to be doing in construction season 2017, but it spans fiscal year 2018 into the calendar year 2018 as well. We also have several truck purchases and equipment purchases, and
So getting back to the roads, do we
Yes.
have a list of all the roads that we're sort of priming for looking at, and how do we set the priorities within that?
we have a pavement management system. The list is actually, the pavement management system is several years old now, where it's an objective criteria that looks at a number of different factors, including cost, priority-wise, and it's really an objective means of looking at the roads and utilizing the budget to the maximum extent possible. It'll make recommendations based on the type of repairs, and we have different repair categories for reclaim and overlay, as well as just straight overlay, milling, and crack seal. Funding for the project is, we receive state funding through the Chapter 90, as well as $400,000 within the operating budget in a calendar year.
So would we have, can you give us the list of the streets? Because some of that sometimes will dovetail with streets that the planning board may or may not have approved subdivisions in the past. It would be nice to know.
Certainly. So through the Chapter 90 funding, we have Andover Street from Route 125 to Andrew Circle. We have Boxford Street, Sherwood Drive to Candlestick Road. We have Chadwick Street, Osgood Street to Sutton Street. Main Street, Route 125 to Osgood Street. We have Marble Ridge Road from Salem Street to Great Pond Road. We also have two roads that are in our schedule, and you can see within the town's website. Osgood Street from Beacon Hill Boulevard to Pleasant Street, and 2nd Street from Main Street to Maple Street. Both of those roads will be deferred till construction season 2019, so that we can coordinate with the gas company. I'm sorry.
So what are the ones out in the edge of town that looks like that they're two, yeah, those two?
So that's Hay Meadow. Hay Meadow there in Tanglewood.
Yeah, Hay Meadow, I mean, Tanglewood's not that old. Why does that need it already? I mean, I don't think that's more than 25 years old, maybe.
Yeah, and again, it was based on the scoring in the, after we classified each road in the pavement management software, it's basically scored. So it was based on the scoring. I'm not sure, I don't believe there was any work done there, although I'm not 100% sure, meaning some of the streets we also look at if we had water main replacements and/or gas main replacements and/or, sewer work. So some of those get factored into this list also, because you have the patches and, sometimes, depending on how much of the street, it can get difficult to maneuver down those, so.
Rebecca, you might just check, I doubt it, but there might be a little bit of bond money left over for some of those, Tanglewood in particular.
When you say the school, is that updated every year, or is it done like 10 years ago and we're still trying to work through the list?
I believe it's been a few years since we did it. We had a consultant come in and actually establish the program, but we do update the list itself, I guess any improvements. It's a management system where it tracks all the improvements, so we enter that on a yearly basis. Once a road is done, we update the condition of it.
And how long will it take to get through the list of the priority ones? How many years?
Well, it's broken up, it's a 5-year list, it's a 5-year program at this point. We do have to make changes annually based on what's happening, as I mentioned, with the gas company. As far as the thing to remember with a road is, it's just like, I always refer to it as painting a house. You may paint it now, but 10, 15 years from now, you may have to do it again. So it's the same type with road programs. It's not that you go through the entire list. What happens is it changes. One of the best parts of pavement management is that it's trying to maximize your road dollars. We certainly have more of a backlog than we could ever have funding for. So it's always looking and reevaluating based on what your budget parameters are. So,
Well, that was my point, is
Yeah.
how do we get it so we can get some of the roads up to better shape, opposed to, by the time you get through the 5-year list, there's 4 more new ones that have come on, and then there's roads that never get done.
it's all funding generated.
So what do we need to do? That's what I'm asking. Is there any way we can help facilitate that?
I think at this point, we're doing exactly what was requested when we looked at the overall roads program. And just to let you know, I've been here 2 weeks now.
I know.
So it's something I'm going to be certainly looking at, but the program has been in place now for a number of years. So I'm not aware of any problems with it at this point. Obviously, there is a backlog.
Well, I've looked through the list personally on the website in the town, and there's probably at least 25 roads, which are pretty poor, that aren't even on the list for the 5-year plan.
I would
You know.
suggest in the library area where they changed all the gas lines.
There's
and
quite a few areas,
There's
yeah.
a few streets over there that are in bad shape, and they're nowhere.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things, and when I came to town, one of the things that Andrew Mailer had said is that one of the benefits of the pavement management system is that residents can look and see what roads are on the list for the next 5 years. And we do need to update that, we need to look at that, but ultimately, if you start changing just based on factors that you see out in the roadway, you're really getting away from the pavement management system itself. Now, with that said, I do think that one of the things that I'm going to be looking at is some of the drainage improvements as well. So we're starting to see some settlement, and I'm trying to see if all of this will be coordinated within the roads program. So there probably will be some changes, and I'll certainly take a look at what you've referred to, some of the roads.
There's somewhere literally the 10 feet of the shoulder is gone
Yeah.
because of erosion, because there's no curbing and stuff.
Yeah.
And those roads aren't even on the list even. You can't even walk on it, so it's so
And-
dangerous.
And that's one of the struggles with pavement management. And
Right.
I've been doing pavement management for 15 years, over 15 years. It's that idea that you're going to improve roadways, or when I say improve, also maintain. So simple things like crack sealing, doing routine and preventative maintenance before you do a reconstruction, and that's because you do have the limited dollars.
Right.
So it really is aimed at, but in a practical sense, sometimes you do have to get away from it as well to address some of those areas that just, because of need, because of around schools and those sort of things that are higher priorities.
The sidewalk, same thing. What are you doing with the sidewalks? We have some of our former members, this is a topic that's near and dear to their hearts because we've, taken money from developers for the sidewalk fund in cases where we waive construction of sidewalks inside the subdivision. But what are we talking about doing this year?
It is, it's in there. It's just that written. Right here.
Gotcha.
There you go.
So at this point, we have Cleveland Street from Main to number 16 on both sides. We have First Street from Main to number 5 on the odd side. We have Sergeant Street adjacent to number 29 Waverly. Union Street, Waverly to number 19 on the odd side. Union Street, Waverly to number 14 on the even side. Dewey Street, number 27 to number 15 on the odd side. Holbrook Road, number 15 to number 31 on the odd side. And Prescott Street, number 39 to number 47 on the odd side.
Okay.
You know, when you talk about pavement maintenance, that's the ongoing, not improvement, but just the ongoing maintenance of it.
First Street, which side you on?
Shouldn't your budget reflect the capital improvement and have the maintenance to be a separate item? And then we could just judge how much of it is going for improvements and how much of it is going for ongoing maintenance.
That's an item I can certainly look at. At this point, I just haven't gotten into the budget. It's, I didn't prepare this. It's, the budget, I mean, in the
You
CIP.
have been 2 weeks.
So,
Okay, you can blame it on Bruce.
no. Certainly, it's, again, the program,
No, but that would be a way to split this thing. It's silly to have that unless we fund the ongoing maintenance through bonds.
I'm sorry, through bonds? Through,
Yeah.
oh, okay.
I mean, typically, isn't that what you have in a capital improvement budget for? Not just approval, but you also get bonding approval.
It's for the long-term program, certainly, but, and obviously, when you're talking bonding, you're looking at not just public works, you're looking how it impacts the entire town, as well as, because with the AAA bond rating and whatnot, that they do look at all the projects, not just one. So there are many factors well beyond public works when you're looking at bonding.
So any other questions?
While we're on sidewalks and what John said, we give the developers are allowed to not build their sidewalks to fund into this sidewalk project fund. We haven't updated that figure in a long time. I think it's been over 5 years ago. I think we asked around 2 or 3 years ago. And I can't imagine that the cost of doing a sidewalk hasn't increased. And if it has, we want to, increase it, that these developers who are not paying for a sidewalk actually are paying the right amount. So,
Sure.
if one of you guys can not look at the current figure and just actually do the figure on what the cost would to build a sidewalk from new to code, with the grade, figuring it's plain dirt,
Certainly.
not a overlay or anything like that.
Yep.
Good.
Okay. Any other, Pete?
Is the ozone system related to the water treatment plant?
It is. That's one of the improvements to the plant. It's actually one of the last major improvements within the full schedule. It's actually a pretreatment method, and it's an environmental friendly means of the pretreatment. It gets away from a lot of the chemical treatment that we do. So it is, and again, that's something that's been in the works now. It's going to be designed, if it's not already underway, and it will be constructed in early in construction year 2018.
Thanks.
The planning board like to make the recommendation?
The only problem is we have to find out which ones we're actually going to vote on, so you need to get that, and then we'll vote on that later, so. Thank you, guys.
Great, thank
Appreciate
you.
it. Welcome to North Andover.
Wait, I have
Thank you.
one more question, I'm not sure. Water and High Street, the lights, roads, and streetscape, the lights were already done. What else, do you know what else we're doing down on High Street?
Sure.
Take that.
Yeah, so they were broken up into phases.
Okay.
The upgrade, so as you indicated, the lights were, I think, phase one, part of phase one. Phase two, which has been designed and hopefully going to go out for construction, is we're trying to water high and Elm, that intersection there. We're going to repair the sidewalks and try and realign the geometry a little better as much as we can, given the buildings that are there, located at like 100 Elm Street. So when you drive through there, the ideal is you want to have it, a four-way, and right now they're offset. So we're going to try and shift the intersection as much as we can to try and get it to be a straight four-way, and at the same time improve the sidewalks at the corner of the intersection and extending down towards Church Street.
Those sidewalks were just done.
It's only the side.
Okay.
Now, the sidewalks on the mill side, we're done.
The Mill,
Yeah,
Elm on one side.
Right.
Yeah.
So we're doing,
Water on
we're
one
actually
side.
doing
Okay.
the sidewalk that's opposite is it the East Mill? As you're coming down Water Street.
Okay.
As you're coming down Water, we're doing the right side where Elm's right there.
Okay.
So and it's really because we need to realign the intersection that we're actually doing the sidewalk. We actually have to extend, a little ways onto 100 Elm Street, which we have an easement so that we can bump the sidewalk over and carry it through, again, to help realign the intersection. And then next year, what I believe Phase 3 is basically, repave the entire length of Water Street from there all the way down, including Clarendon.
And you got to excuse me because I'm not that familiar with the street names there. But
Sure.
Are we talking the three-way stop up there?
Correct.
The mill thing?
Exactly.
People come roaring up the hill, there's no stop sign, and everybody else plays chicken.
Yes, that would be the intersection.
Okay.
Yes.
If you could fix that, that would be great.
Well, I can take a look at it again. I know the consultant has done a design. I don't know. And I did hear some rumblings about when they put up the three-way stop to try and help, the flow of traffic. And I've heard both pluses and minuses of the three-way intersection.
Make it four. I know it's uphill, but nobody,
You'd never get a semi-truck up that hill.
well,
I
that's
think
it.
it's still better than it used to be. I'm
Yeah, it's still
sorry.
better than it used to be. So we're spending
I
$475
think
to
it is
just realign the corner?
To basically realign the intersection, correct. Rebuild the sidewalk, realign the intersection.
Okay.
I've never seen a traffic circle with that type of configuration, but traffic circles work great in situations like that.
Can't do it there. There's no room.
Right. Again, because of
Lots of houses.
the mills and the buildings, we're kind of stuck.
Good. We all good? So we can move on? Thank you. Appreciate it.
You're very welcome.
Yeah. Okay, back to our A&R here.
So, when we received the A&R, we recognized that there was a parcel A listed that took 20 feet of frontage and had 199 square feet of additional area that was to be labeled non-buildable and given to the adjacent lot.
I'm confused. Okay.
So there's the lot 1.
Lot 2, the subject of what we approved were lots 2 and 3?
1, 2, and 3.
So that parcel A, does that sort of sit inside of lot 3?
It does. It's a triangle piece of that area.
It's going to become part of lot 3?
It's going to become a part of the Butters property,
So they can do it.
so they can use the frontage in the area.
I have a problem with that. You're giving a frontage exception and then they're giving away frontage to a
And
neighbor.
that was what is the amount of frontage on lot 3?
Currently, the lot has 461 feet, and the acreage is 3.37, and that
No, but what's on lot 3, the,
Lot 3 was 5550.
with the parcel A in or out?
With the parcel A out. So they could have added those 20 feet back into the frontage exception, but they chose to cut it out and give it to the abutter.
That's a spite thing. Why do they want to do this?
Because I asked them what their intent was, and they said it was to give it to the neighbors. And then when I had called the engineer today, I asked for some more information, considering the fact that that doubles, or more than doubles, what's required in that particular zone. And he said, our records indicate the property has slightly over 430 feet of frontage, and that additional frontage will provide the frontage necessary for 3 lots.
Oh, so they want to do something next door to it.
Yes, so they want to have an A&R and split that property into 3 lots
I
as
think
well.
there's they never told us this when they were coming in and
They
did this
didn't
whole
tell us
thing.
this, but it was on the site plan, so it did carve out that parcel. It didn't say why it was there.
No, they only mentioned lot 1, 2, and 3. They never mentioned parcel A, whether it was on the plan or not.
Exactly, they never
So it
mentioned
was not on the
that.
application, it was lot 1, 2, 3, and parcel A, so.
Exactly.
So the question would be is, I think what we should do is either they withdraw it or we reject it, and we say that it makes what we already approved non-conforming, and you can say it's a subdivision and whatever you have to, but either, if they're not going to withdraw it on their own and come in and talk to us about it and resubmit it, then you just
How many
reject it.
date, do you know what the date on this one is? I can probably look it up too.
Yes.
Do we have time for them to come in? I just want to make sure we don't.
I don't think they do.
I don't believe they will have time.
Okay, so I'll make a motion to, actually, and they're still in review period too.
It was
Whatever.
I
stamped.
think the motion is to direct the planner to either reject the Form A as non-conforming, or to go back to the applicant and get them to withdraw the application and come in and
There is no withdrawal on A&Rs. We went through this already.
sure you can withdraw it.
We went through this with the attorney a few
Yeah,
months
town
ago.
council had said that you have to either approve it or reject it.
Okay, well then let's just
I'll make a
reject it.
motion to reject without prejudice 1975 Salem Street A&R for being non-conforming.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Okay, moving right along to the continued public hearings for 1099 Salem Street. Where do we stand on that?
Okay, so for 1099 Salem Street, at the conservation meeting, it was stated that placing a driveway in the 50 no build zone required an alternatives analysis. Sorry, I'll bring the plan down. So the applicant was instructed to provide a driveway analysis to get the driveways out of the 50-foot no build zone. But more importantly, the commission stated that they do not believe it is realistic to exclude small areas with larger developed envelope to avoid filing a land disturbance permit. And they specifically called out the tree in the middle of the actual plan, and they called out the landscaping at the bottom. Additionally, there's correspondence from Lisa Eggleston as well as our conservation agent Jennifer Hughes arguing that a land disturbance permit would apply to this particular project. The applicant has since submitted the alternatives analysis for the driveways and states that they still don't believe that a land disturbance would apply. The Conservation Commission has not had a chance to review those alternatives or the memo, as the next meeting is April 12th.
So, let's see. Mike, does everybody have this one, or who?
I handed it to you because everybody probably read it.
Okay, everybody read this. So it seems to me we have a statement from the Conservation Administrator expressing concern about this. And we also have Lisa Eggleston opining that I agree with this interpretation, that are not blah, 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 blah. So, so have you seen this?
I have not seen this.
This has been sent to,
I think I heard.
yes, this was sent to the applicant, Paul Marchanda. It was relayed to him by email through Jennifer Hughes, the conservation agent.
I
Yes.
address this because I'm familiar with this? So.
Can you identify yourself for the record, Dave?
Yes, Dave Kindred Homes, I'm the applicant. So, so we, everything that Rebecca just said, we received the letter. Lisa Eggleston said that she feels as though the stormwater bylaw, the local stormwater bylaw, should apply because she interprets it that just because we're not disturbing an acre, I'm going to paraphrase, and I hope I get this right. If the land that we're working on is part of a piece of land that's greater than an acre, do I have this right, Rebecca? Do you think?
Watershed.
If the watershed is greater than an acre, then I'm not sure if she says then the stormwater bylaw should apply or the stormwater bylaw can apply. So I guess what we're here to ask is, we see the letter, we know that the stormwater bylaw, we agree that it can apply. So we just have, we have the plan that we've submitted to both the Planning Board and the Conservation Commission, showing what we had proposed to do. And we took a quick look, nothing cast in concrete, but just a quick look at what would happen if we were to be subject to the stormwater standard. And what would happen is, the only place we have to put a retention basin would be in the area where the houses are now, because obviously it has to be down gradient, and the houses right now are situated on the flattest part of the land. So what would happen is, we'd have to take that area for the BMP, and then the houses would get pushed further up, actually into the steeper part of the site. And we'd wind up having to disturb, by our best estimate at this point, roughly 3/4 of an acre more. It might be, this is just, guesstimating. So I guess we'd like to make the pitch that the plan that we have, we think, the planning board is the permit granting authority. We think that the plan that we brought in front of you is, environmentally, we think by far a better plan, because we're disturbing, if we do the stormwater standard, we're disturbing quite a bit more land, and we're pushing the houses out of the flat portion of the land into the steeper part of the land and having to deal with all that comes along with that. I guess, whatever the board decides, we'll live with it, but we do think that this plan, from an environmental standpoint, we think that the plan that we originally came in with is far superior. But again, obviously it's the board's discretion.
You've been fully convinced. I thought the Conservation Commission is all about preserving,
Well, I can chime in a bit if that's right.
Yeah.
At the Conservation Commission hearing, they had some suggestions, which, a couple of them were upgrading the straw wattles from 8-inch to a 12-inch, adding a trench silt fence behind that, both of which we agreed to, no problem. We also changed the swale in the middle between the two driveways. We changed that from that one swale to one stone trench beside each driveway to try to help with some of the, and we haven't been back in front of them with this yet. We sent them the plan, but we haven't had the next hearing yet to see their thoughts on the matter.
And so we
everybody has an opinion about this.
Well, we don't, the problem is we have to take your word for it that the drainage works, because we don't have any drainage plans that our consultant can review, because you're not doing a land disturbance permit, which both our consultant and our Conservation Commission thinks it's required by our bylaw. So that's where I've been saying that with a frontage exception, we still have to prove there's no nuisance. Without having that process, in this case, we can't prove that.
Well, I mean, the thing is, we don't want to be caught in a situation where we, cut off our nose to spite our face.
You can give waivers on some of it. We've done that before on some.
Well, I mean, the thing that I don't understand is, if you take the plan that you have, and this, I've asked this 3 or 4 times, and it's not clear to me why you guys haven't done it, is based on what you proposed to us, tell us what the stormwater impact is going to be. How hard can that be for you to do that? Because aren't you implicitly going to have to do that for the Conservation Commission anyway?
No. Potentially. One thing we're trying to address is we're trying to get town engineers' comments. Unfortunately, we haven't been able to hook up with them. We've been emailing and calling. He must be busy. We haven't had a chance to get his direct input on exactly what he wants, so we could give that to him, make him happy, then we could come here and tell you guys we made him happy. That's really what we wanted to do.
So who haven't you been able to get in touch with?
The town engineer.
Yeah, we keep causing pests.
Well,
I actually,
you know, you guys are the ones spending the money and the time and effort in this. I have no sympathy if you can't get in touch
why
with them.
spending time?
Yeah, I mean, you know,
Money
too bad.
wants.
Go camp out at their office and, you know,
We went there in person once. We've called and emailed several times. I know he's busy.
it's,
The town engineer does want to let conservation and planning take care of what they would like before getting involved further in this particular issue.
And the town engineer also had concerned over that there's no land disturbance permit. So
Yeah, but I guess I don't want to do something stupid here and like destroy a piece of property just because of technical reasons. I guess, and this is why I don't understand. I'm inclined to go with what you propose. I just want you to prove it works. And unless you go to the engineers and prove it works, then we need that assurance.
Could they get an engineer certification type letter?
Or something, I mean,
That's
or
what
go to our
John- that's
consultant,
what John
just make sure what you propose work. I don't know how hard it is to do that. We've been talking about this for 3 or 4 meetings now.
I don't think we have an issue with certification on our side. And for what it's worth, I'm not here to challenge anyone on the land disturbance permit, and I know a few of the people you consulted helped write it, so I'm certainly not going to challenge their intentions while writing it. My interpretation, though, of a couple of the items on there is kind of blanket statements to be able to, pull more stuff under the jurisdiction of the permit, like the watershed of over an acre. That could apply to so many properties, even tiny parcels could be subject to that, by that, if you hold it to the letter of the law. And like Dave said, our plan will, disturb a lot less land, and the BMPs and all that fun stuff is to try to make the land replicate unaltered land, but we have to alter a lot more land to achieve that. So the shaded area is what Dave spoke about, how we have to push houses back and disturb more land, and you can see it's approximately, like you said, 3/4 of an acre. It's sizable. So in my opinion, the
Right.
land disturbance
I happen
permits.
to agree with you. I can't speak for anybody else, but I happen to agree with you. I just think your workaround, given all the circumstances, is to prove that what you're proposing has the minimal impact, and that you do some of the same sort of stuff you might have done under the bylaw, that other bylaw, but you show that you're managing the water flow. And again, how hard can that be? Because you're going to have to do that anyway.
Well, the one big thing Jennifer asked for at the Conservation Commission, which we're planning to address at the next hearing, is she wants a lot of construction phase BMPs, and she wants to see our phasing, our sequencing. So Dave and I spoke the other day about his general, overall sequence, and we're going to put some sheets together just, for an exhibit or a display for Jennifer to show her. Their concern is primarily during the construction phase, from my understanding.
but John, if I understand you correctly, what you're asking is for us to somehow, I don't know if this is possible, but to somehow do some calculation to show what these trenches were doing and the roof infiltration that we're doing and all that stuff, what they're going to do to mitigate the impact of stormwater? Are you looking for us to quantify it somehow?
Basically, the argument you're making is that by disturbing only, a little less than an acre as opposed to 1.7 acres, you have a much better outcome. So you've shown, okay, you explain pieces of it, but then show that the outcome that you're proposing is not going to create a big runoff problem. And if you do that, then I think, at least for me, I think you're fine.
And just a question, if the alternatives analysis and the Conservation Commission want to go a different route in terms of the driveways, would that increase the limit of the amount of disturbance if they change that?
I don't see how it could. I think if anything, it may minimize it. We may have to push our least preferred alternative of the ones we gave them would be to push Lot 1 driveway over on Lot 2 and get an easement through it, so we could tighten up the area of disturbance. And their intent there was to get our driveway, I think it's only on the order of 150-ish square feet within the 50-foot zone. They want it totally outside, so that would reduce our disturbance, not significantly, but reduce it by a few hundred square feet.
And just so the board is aware of what's going on there, so Conservation asked for an alternatives analysis for the driveways. And, you know, they may allow the driveway, that small portion of the driveway that's within the 50-foot no disturb zone, they may allow that to stay there, but they wanted an alternatives analysis. So what we've done is we've narrowed the driveways. We've shown an alternative with the first section of that driveway that falls within the 50-foot, I don't know what it is, 100 feet in from the street or something like that. But that we would use pervious pavers within that section of the driveway. And then, you know, the alternative that we least prefer is if we push the driveway outside the 50-foot no build completely, and again, it's only a small portion, so we hope that's not going to happen, then we would have to push the driveway over onto Lot 2, which would mean we would have to put an easement there, and we would have to come back in front of you folks for another special permit for easement, you know, that's not over the frontage of that lot, for driveway not over the frontage of that lot. So we're hoping that's not going to happen, but that's up to the commission.
We're hoping to work with them on that because naturally we can't kick the Lot 1 driveway further to the right on the plan because of the lot line. So that's where our alternatives come in.
Pete, do you have any strong opinion about this?
I think I would lean towards what you had expressed, that if they can show us that it's not a negative impact, that this seems to have an advantage of disturbing less of the land. I think that's what you said.
I think they need to prove it to our consultant. I don't think we're qualified to take
Well, that's
it.
what I'm sort of
Well,
saying.
but there's not, but our consultant won't have an opportunity to review it because it's only on the frontage exception. So unless they agree to have our consultant review the whole entire property, opposed to the small portion that's in conservation. I just don't think we're qualified to accept someone else's calculations, and we've never
Well,
done
I
it
know
before.
we have to have somebody look at
Well,
it.
exactly.
I
I mean,
mean,
I don't think it should be-
let's not make it, you know, I mean,
It shouldn't be that cumbersome. Everybody else does
that's
it.
what I mean. For all the time we're doing this, you can give it to us, you'd get done in an hour or two, and we'd be done with it, and it would take a lot less time, you know. So are you guys okay with doing that? Because otherwise, we're gonna churn on this thing, and we're gonna basically, you know,
So to be honest, what I'm asking Craig is, if we quantify this, if we're able to quantify this, and for something that's going to be submitted to Lisa Eggleston, there's, without going completely, if we don't completely comply with, you know, absolute zero of the stormwater management, we may have, as I think was suggested, that you can. So if we submit it to Lisa Eggleston, she may come back and said, you know, this doesn't comply to the complete letter of the law. You know, in other words,
Yeah, but if it's de minimis.
yes.
then we're gonna
Yeah, that's
work
what I
with
mean.
it.
We just hope we don't get-
We're
We just don't
in
get roped
That's
in.
for what if, we don't
you know,
know
because
the
we
what
can
if.
balance that
Okay.
against the additional land disturbance and everything, and, you know, arguably with the additional land disturbance, you're gonna have more of a mess during the construction period than you would ever over the lifetime of the thing. So, I mean, we just want to be reasonable about it, and we don't want to put
I
you
mean, there's
guys.
people, there's other houses right there. It's,
sure.
you know,
Yeah.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
So-
The other part of the reason that we do, the other reason we want to try and leave the houses where they are is because they're on a relatively flat part of the site, and the houses are going to get pushed into the hill, so,
Makes sense, and
yeah.
I think that's why you want to do it. So if you come back and do that, we'll hook you up with Lisa, and we will be reasonable in this.
All right.
Good, thank you.
Oh, and so, well, I guess we already addressed the driveway thing, so, yeah, we may have to come back to
Yeah, I
the
mean,
driveway, so.
and you do what you have to do with conservation, and to the extent that it impacts us, just come back. Yeah.
Very good, thank you.
Okay, great, thank you. Okay, let's see. We got a bunch of people here for, Felipe, what are you here for? Oh, you got the new public hearing, you're the next one. We were thinking about putting you last, but,
Do whatever you like.
so, no, you can go next. Come right up.
All right, so just to kick off the project, the project consists of a modification to an existing permit to construct a one-story, 6,700 square foot expansion to the existing Sackowitz Campus Center. Then there's a second special permit to proposes to upgrade the existing athletic fields to provide a modern synthetic turf field and running track, viewing bleachers, a press box, and a new field house and small event area. So the applicant has requested that stormwater review be conducted by Andover's consultant, since the proposed development drains towards, is managed by Andover, and the peer review will be based on both Andover's bylaw and North Andover's bylaw, and the applicant's obviously before Andover's boards as well, and the peer review will be performed, and they will then send us the reports, and Conservation has consented to this, and it's similar to the way that we approach North Campus, so the applicant's requesting that the board also allow this to take place.
Before we start, just everybody should know this is like a homecoming night here, because we have a former member of the planning board who's speaking, and the former town planner is here. So this is like very exciting. There's lots of history in this room tonight.
Many nights sitting there. Actually, I never got to sit in this room, actually.
Yeah, there you go.
I was always at the DPW conference room. Yeah, that's good. So, yeah, I thought we'd take the Sackowitz expansion project first. The project before you is an expansion, about a 7,000 square foot expansion of the Sackowitz Campus Center, which is our main campus building on campus. I mean, it's right in the center of campus, does everything for us from dining services to student life to recreation to a wide variety of activity on campus comes out of this approximately 180,000 square foot, 3-story building. So what we're doing is basically a little bit of what we call a bump out, coming out toward the North Campus side of the site. The site right now is currently walkways, some grass, a few trees, and that's about it. It's a very lightly used part of the building, mainly because there's no entrance into the building from this side. If you look at this this entry right here, this is actually an exit only out of the building, so it's almost never used. So it's a side of campus that is, you know, for the most part untapped. And now that North Campus is in full swing with the building under construction and 2 more buildings coming, we're in the midst of looking at how we frame North Campus as it emerges to the Sackowitz Campus Center. So the building that you're looking at is 1 story. It connects to our campus dining hall, which is literally on the first floor right here. It's in almost this entire footprint here. If you're on campus and you see the glass wall of the campus center, that's this wall here. So the idea is to really help to replicate that as we build this addition. We're looking at an entrance into this space from this side of campus so that the folks that are living on North Campus and in classes have an easy access right into the space. We see this as about a little over 300 additional dining seats that are accessed both this way, stepping down into the space. This also has a restroom core, men's and women's room, as well as storage. We're also proposing an outdoor patio at grade right above here, so it provides a nice viewing and just part of that activity along this particular walkway of campus, which is a very popular walkway. This helps to sort of set the stage as you walk down this. We have this walkway, this current walkway that'll remain. But that's about it. It's 1 story. We're looking to start fairly soon so that we can be up and ready for next August. And in terms of utilities and all the technical stuff that comes along with this project, we did do technical review committee with, oh man, I swear it was the full room. It was like 20 people. It was great. It was great. We got some feedback from DPW. We got feedback from the fire department and folks, and I don't think anything significant came out of that. We did, because as she mentioned earlier, any project that we do on campus, we have to have reviewed under our Andover Stormwater Master Plan, whether it's this, the field, whatever it is. So that peer review process happened because we combined this building with our North Campus projects as well, and that peer review already occurred and already went through conservation with Andover. So that this project before Andover Conservation Commission is done. So really, our last step is with this board on the campus,
So this is
on the
not
SAC.
North Andover.
This is entirely North Andover, right?
That's entirely North Andover.
Yep, that's right.
So we already have all the stormwaters
Yep.
reports?
Yeah, I can send you that. Yep, yep. It's done, and the peer review happened, and the Conservation Commission voted favorably.
So, one story is a flat roof?
Yep,
Yeah.
yep,
Mechanicals?
yep. Mechanicals on the roof, kind
Are
of
they
tucked in the
hidden?
back. No, they're on the roof.
No, but I mean, is there a parapet so
Yeah.
that you, yeah?
Yep.
Okay,
Yeah, we don't
I figured.
we don't necessarily want to see them.
Yeah, okay,
They're kind of probably tucked
Yeah.
toward the back.
yeah.
Our loading dock function happens on the bottom side of this, so we have a
Okay.
natural back door to this particular roof, if you will.
Oh, I see.
So you won't see this. If I would be shocked if you could see this anywhere from 114 to the corner where Bertucci's is. I think Austin Hall and North Campus, the two residential dorms, block this view entirely. Cushing Hall is in the way, so you won't see this from anywhere in North Andover unless you're on campus.
Yeah, okay. Pete?
I think it's great.
Yeah,
Thank you.
What's the purpose of the
yeah.
front wall being not straight? Besides
Back-
giving
back when- back when
the
this-
contractor a heart attack, having
Yeah, I totally agree with you. When this building was expanded in 2001, it went from a kind of a traditional rectangular, actually kind of cross-shaped building to what you see today, which is a large, they more than doubled the size of this. And that inundating wall that you have here, that glass wall, is just a great design feature. I mean, when you're walking along campus at night, you see kids eating dinner, you always know something's happening. And so for us, it's really an opportunity to say, campus is alive in the center of campus, and we really want to continue that as you go along.
Excellent. Thank you. I think we're good. And we have all the stuff, the building profiles and all that stuff in our records and, everything we need.
They're part of the
Yeah.
plans, and the department reviews have started taking place, and we've gone back and forth, so we're just really waiting for the peer review comments in terms of stormwater, and then we'll be able to get more technical at the next meeting.
Do we need to have our conservation?
There's no
It's-
wetlands.
There's no wetlands anymore.
There's no
Not for the
concept.
Sackowitz expansion,
Right.
however, they will be doing a review for the fields.
For the
You ready for that?
Yeah, you ready for that? Part two.
This is like the preview, right? So, okay, so when we come back, so you want me to get you the peer review documentation?
Yes, the peer
and
review
and the vote and all that
documentation,
stuff?
yep, and everything else you have in the plans, and then we're just
Perfect.
doing the DPW had some questions and concerns, I'm sure that you're working out with them,
Yep,
or
yep,
so we
exactly.
communicated with, so once we get those, we'll be able to discuss those further, but otherwise, I think you're
Great. Great. So the athletic fields project, the athletic district project is what we call, is an exciting project for us. It's the first time since 2005 that the college has taken significant physical improvements to all of our athletic fields. So what you're looking at right now is a new track and field facility, which is the keystone part of this project. We're also, so just to give you some orientation of the plan, we're looking at 125 entrance to campus is up here. Currently, this is softball field, practice field. This is our existing turf field, and then this is obviously the baseball field. We have the dorm here and the athletic complex there. So this is a fairly, it's an exciting project for us. It provides a facility we currently do not have. We do have a national champion in track right now, currently on campus, that has competed and won a national championship without a track. So this is really the time to do it. Yeah, yeah. So they run around, I think they run North Andover and around the neighborhood and all that kind of fun stuff and do graded events. So Chris Huntress is here to walk you through this, but this is a project that obviously is being reviewed in both towns. We're before North Andover Conservation because of some wetlands along the top of the plan. And then because we're doing a project on campus, we're before Andover Conservation Commission, both for stormwater, as well as we are doing a boardwalk. I don't know, it's got tucked under the trees over here, a boardwalk that connects through here, as well as a softball bump out that has some wetland buffer and and wetland resources impact that we're working through with him.
And will
So
that provide additional parking as well?
the project, we are not building any parking, we are connecting to more
The
parking.
boardwalk.
Right,
So
exactly.
that's the
Yeah, the boardwalk connects to currently untapped parking during athletic events. So I'm going to turn it over to Chris because he is our expert in all things athletic
Can you
fields.
show how that relates to 125?
Yeah, I think we have a campus plan we can show you. So just to give you your bearings, 125 is here, and what's off the map is where the entrance is and kind of curls in this way. So right now, as I said, when you drive onto campus, this is a grass field right now. This is a softball field, and there are trees behind the ash dorm right here. So that's the extent of that.
When you expanded the current hockey thing, there was some concern about the encroachment on the wetlands. So,
Yeah, we do have wetlands behind here.
yeah.
So there was this expansion portion here was within buffer. So that all got worked out with conservation. We actually have a couple of rain gardens within this project as
So
well.
what's the gray area around, what looks like the elongated TV screen? The green thing?
114, that's the highway.
No, that's,
That?
yeah, see the green thing and the
Yep.
black thing around it?
Here?
There's a,
That's the track.
that's the track?
That's the track.
The gray is the track or the black?
This is the track, and then this is just plaza area that's part of that. Chris will walk you through that.
Okay.
We've got a few pretty pictures.
I mean, is it pervious or is it?
Well, let's let him.
I'll take you right through that. I'm just going to pass through, those are a couple existing conditions aerials that might help you orient yourself a little bit better.
Yeah.
So, for the record, Chris Huntress with Huntress Sports and Huntress Associates out of Andover. And we've been working with Merrimack College and also with VHB, and Jeffrey Cotteritz is here as well to talk about stormwater. So what I'm going to do is walk you through, as Felipe had said, it's a very exciting project at Merrimack. They don't presently have a track. It's a major upgrade to their athletic facilities now. And I'll take you through them. I'll do an overview and then go wherever you'd like to with regard to questions. Understanding this is the first night. Just to orient everybody, on the far side of the sheet, on the left side of the sheet, you'll see the Volpe Center. And the building here labeled the Ash Center is one of the dormitories. Those are both existing, as is the baseball field and the lower field, Martone Mihale Field, are all existing facilities. What is new and being proposed includes a 400-meter, 8-lane NCAA compliant track with a new multi-purpose athletic field at its centerpiece, and it's flanked on the right side by a 2,500-seat bleacher. Right now, Merrimack College, as Felipe had said, has no track and field, so this will be a significant upgrade. Just to the north of that, be right here, is a field house that serves as a support building to the track and field. It will house concessions and bathrooms and locker rooms, and also a small function space for the facility as well. What can I tell you about the track and field? The track and field comes with all field events, being long jump, triple jump, pole vault, and the like. Includes a scoreboard. It will include sports lighting. There's a 4-pole sports lighting system that's proposed as well. Presently, there are, between the softball field and the soccer field that are both there right now, the softball field sitting roughly in this location, and the soccer field over here, there are 8 sports lights poles that are there now. So we're replacing those with 4. The 4 that we're replacing are about 70 feet in height and are much more directional in their spill and glare control than the 8 that are there now. The 8 that are there now are about 50 feet tall. To the south of us, we've got an existing tree line along this edge. We don't impact that tree line at all. We don't cut any trees on the south side of the project at all. Everything is outside of the 50-foot wetland buffer or 50-foot buffer to the wetlands. And but some of the work is within 100 feet, which is why we're in front of your Conservation Commission. I'm going to move on to baseball and the lower field, but happy to answer any other questions as we go forward. The baseball field that you see here is existing, and for the most part, we're not really doing anything to it at all. You will see, however, that the bleacher lands on a portion of the left field foul line, and it really goes right down the left field line. So because of that, we're rotating the field about 5 degrees clockwise to lengthen that what will be the new foul line down the left field to get it out to 300 feet. So there's a minor.
Like a pesky pole.
It will be a home field advantage there for a righty, but yeah. So it will rotate. It really only creates a little bit of work down in here, but it's mostly handwork that's all within the limits of the field itself. There's an existing outfield fence that wraps the entirety of the field now, as you see it there. All we're really doing is extending the warning track over about 24 feet and moving the foul pole in this location over. So a lot of that's handwork, and we're having that conversation with the Conservation Commission. On the lower field, right now this is a rectangular field. It's home to almost every sport on campus, but football, field hockey, and lacrosse for the most part. And it's going to stay that. With the one exception that because we have displaced softball by dropping a track and field on top of it, we're moving softball now down onto this facility and expanding the synthetic turf out in the corner to house an NCAA regulation softball field down on the lower field. And that will be really the major improvement down there. That will come with dugouts and backstops. But it's a nice and convenient way to be able to relocate softball, put them on a synthetic surface, all-weather surface, and minimize the footprint. And finally, the last bit of work, and this I know is in Andover, so I'll go briefly here, but there's a walkway that connects all the way from the Volpe Center all the way through the core of the athletic district and through a boardwalk here over to a large parking lot. It's in some of the pictures I've sent around. And that will be an exciting piece to get that connection out to a parking lot to provide for future use. So I've said a lot. I'm sure you've got some questions, so I'm happy to go wherever you'd like me to.
You have a couple of retaining walls. Do you know the height on those?
We do.
One up on the...
Yep. The
You want to talk about the elevation of the field?
yeah. The retaining walls that she mentioned really start here and kind of wrap the track here, and they reveal on this side. So we're cutting into the hill in this location, and we're filling in this location. So this wall is about 3.5 feet on the back side here that drops down to the baseball field. And this wall that reveals this way is about 5.5 feet, and it would lead to an elevated platform with an overlook over the track. So with that kind of cut and fill, we're balancing the site and minimizing the amount of material coming on or off the site.
Now on the 5.5 side, is that where you're putting the fence to stop kids from jumping off the wall, or?
There is, well, there's,
I
the
noticed
entire
there's a-
facility will be fenced, but there is a fence certainly on
It
that.
looks like, yeah, there was a fence on that wall.
There is.
The higher portion, yeah, okay.
There's actually, yeah, the entire facility is enclosed by a fence. It's an ornamental fence on that side by the overlook.
Can you just give us an idea as to how the baseball diamond would fit, given that slice off left field there? I mean, I can imagine a line drive going down the thing and somebody going for it, looking back.
Well, there'll be a warning track, and it will be just like many baseball fields. 300 foot to the foul line is still regulation NCAA, so we really haven't, it was 330, which is a big field.
Yeah.
We really haven't done anything that limits the ability
So there
to
is
play
a
here.
warning track around the edge of the...
There is, yeah. It shows up here as green, but there is a warning track that comes around the entirety of the field and will be reconstructed along this edge. We are putting along this back here, particularly in this stretch, a higher safety netting system for the back of the bleacher so that somebody who's walking into the track and field doesn't take one off the back of the head. Yeah. So there will be a higher netting system along that backside.
In the retaining wall down on the softball field?
Oh, that's only about 1.5 feet.
Okay.
That's right here.
Yep.
It's really just to break the grade so that we can have that,
Yep.
minimize the cut above.
I wanted to ask you about that net between the baseball field and the bleachers. How do you determine the height from a safety perspective?
I would say, well, what I would typically do is take the arc of a line drive or more of a pop ball that's going to be a home run and look at the regulation. The largest regulation field you would have is 330 feet down the left field line, 380 feet to center field. Center field dimension will stay 380, which is still pretty generous. The left field line goes from 330 to 300. There are many, many, many NCAA baseball fields that we work on that are only 300 feet down the left field line anyways. This one happens right now in its present condition to go out to that full 330. So what we would do is look at really the arc and the direction of the ball that was hit within regulation play to that 330 line, and then determine the height of the fence that's necessary. It really wouldn't be that tall of a fence, to be honest. It would come up to about, or net, it would come up to about 15 feet that we would need to be able to capture to say, catch any ball that was going to land in fair territory at 330 yards. The netting that's proposed along the back now is about 20 to 24 feet. We're still ironing out that detail, but it's going to be a little over 20 feet.
So you don't see a risk to the people in the bleachers?
If somebody can reach the top row of that bleacher, that's a really, if they put it into the top row of the bleacher, that would be going way beyond that 330 line.
Yeah.
By the arc of that ball.
But you've looked at that?
Yes, we
that's,
have.
You know, the thing that motivates the question is that you're creating a location for people to sit facing away from the line of a ball,
Yes,
so
we
they
are.
won't see it. And it's different than a field where you have not placed that for a couple reasons. One, you've got a concentration of people that you're providing for, and two, you're seating them facing away. And so you've considered that public
We have.
safety issue there.
We have, and we're adding netting to take care of anybody that's, you can walk under that grandstand
Yeah.
as well. It's an I-beam structure, so you will be
Yeah.
able to walk under it. So anybody that's walking on that promenade underneath the grandstand is
Yeah.
protected as well.
No, I get it. That's a long way to hit a ball. It's just that from a public safety perspective, you're placing people sitting away from the line of the ball. So I think it deserves
You're absolutely
the
right.
attention that you say you're giving it.
Yep.
And the net will also prevent the left fielder from running into a pillar.
There'll be there is a 3.5-foot wall out there, so there will be there will be mats along that 3.5-foot tall wall, and there'll be a warning track. So that will be the protection that's afforded to somebody heading at that direction. The poles themselves that hold the safety nets will also get a
A lot
pad.
of major league players have been hurt hitting the walls, even though there's no track safety.
Well,
It's one of the
there's an
risks.
element of
in-
caveat emptor here, Dave. You know, you're
Well,
playing
no,
sports, you
but,
gotta,
It's one of the risks in recreation, I guess.
yeah, that's right. Yeah.
except that in today's society, schools tend to get sued if.
Well,
they
that's
built
their
something.
problem. That's not your problem.
Right.
Well, I don't care. I can still bring it up, Chad.
You shouldn't at this meeting
Well-
if it's not within our scope.
I think safety is within our scope.
Safety is, yes.
Duly noted.
That's safety.
Yep. Duly noted.
Okay, any other questions from the board?
Field house,
Yes.
elevations.
Yep.
And purpose.
Purpose of the field house is to support the activities on the field. So everything from concessions, public restrooms, locker room for football, visiting locker room, and there's a small event space in the middle so that as you experience this activity on the field, everything's right there. We wanted to keep this a very simple building, one story, just working the length of the site. The left side basically is on the home side, and the right side of that elevation is basically where you come into it. So ticketing is on the right side. There's some opportunity for some nice athletic signage along the elevation at some point.
What's the building made out of?
Probably wood clapboard. We haven't really decided on colors yet, but it's probably more of a similar to our dorms, I would think, in terms of the clapboard style.
It'll likely be I believe, a cementitious board, like a hardy plank.
A hardy plank, right?
But it'll look like a clapboard structure.
We have a concessions window here, everything facing the field. This would be like the function space that would spill out onto the end of the field. And then obviously your public restrooms, your locker rooms here, your visiting locker room, so that there's no cross path of teams when they go in and out of locker rooms. Thought a lot about that in terms of flow. How does this facility flow when you have players in and out of this? This just shows a floor plan how this works.
On the concessions, and I assume bathrooms, concessions, how are you going to load food? Where are you going to bring food?
Yeah, so we have food. So on the site plan, where's the site plan? When we went through the TRC with this, we talked a lot about that particular topic, how we get in and around this. So currently, the access to the existing field does something like this. So when we met with the fire department through the TRC process, we had looked at this access all the way to the field. This is a wide, what is it, 20?
20-foot wide.
20-foot wide emergency access where we would use to load everything related to concessions, which is right here. This also provides a back of the house function for trash. Currently, trash and recycling related to the Ash Center here, so we would piggyback on that process down there as well. So none of that back of the house stuff is on the field side. It's all kind of contained in this general area back here. This plaza area, you had asked about the gray area before. That's this plaza area here, where we see opportunities for tables and chairs and umbrella tables and things like that to kind of help to make it a bit more festive as people are sitting, they're getting concessions, they're enjoying the game.
That plaza area also doubles as the turnaround for the emergency vehicles if they need to access the field and buildings for any reason.
That was a comment that came up at TRC, is the ability for an emergency vehicle to get in and make a full turn and get back out.
Right.
You didn't mention soccer.
Soccer is absolutely on this field.
Soccer's down here.
Well, they'll have it on both. They'll be able to play on both sports.
The other thing, through the TRC process, we agreed to sprinkler the building as well.
And where, you mentioned there's a fair amount of grade change. Sidewalks, ADA, and where's your handicap parking?
We have handicap parking all along here. We have handicap parking here. We have handicap parking here.
All the closest spaces are handicapped.
The other thing I like about what we did with this road is this does provide us an opportunity to do a drop-off. If we need to do a drop-off in this area for some special reason, we have that ability to do that really on both sides now.
And spectator toilets are in the field house?
In the field house, yep. We also have an abundant amount of restrooms, not only right here, but we also have them right here in the athletic complex.
How could someone drop off on the lower field, though, the softball field? Is that?
Right now, they can go like this, come out here, turn around, and come back.
No, but the lower field.
This one?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That
so
looks like it's sidewalk almost. Is that wide enough, or?
It's wide enough for I would say, I mean, we use it during an emergency situation when our campus police have to get there, but it's really not meant for a drive drop-off. This currently exists right now when we have people that drop off, they drop off here and make that walk.
Yeah, and that walk that Felipe just pointed to is accessible as well.
Right.
So a good point about handicapped accessibility. The entirety of this track and field, including the field house, the track and field itself, the grandstands, and the press box are all handicapped accessible. There's a lift on the backside of the grandstand that will bring a disabled individual up to press box level, and they'll have full access throughout.
Chris, did you say all these fields are going to be turf fields?
No, just these two.
Just
This one is now. The new field here inside the track will be, this is staying natural grass.
and what do you consider the useful life to be?
Of a synthetic turf field? 10 to 12 years is when you see, the warranties are 8 years. Most of the turfs that we replace are in that 10 to 12 year lifespan.
Is there any plan or contingency to a bubble in this?
There's talk of a bubble. There's talk of a bubble at some point in the future, but right now it's not. We're not putting a bubble in this.
And a bubble on this size field, were it to be done, would be how many stories high?
I believe it's somewhere around 60 feet at its peak. So when we get, at some point, maybe that conversation happens, but it'd be a fun little, I mean, it'd be the only bubble in the, I mean, other than Cedardale, I guess, but that's,
It's a big bubble.
I mean, there's one in Tewksbury, but I don't think it's as big. It provides some unique opportunities, not only for campus, but regionally as well.
And what sort of visual impact would that have in that location? Because you spoke earlier with the prior presentation about low visual impact.
Of this particular
No,
project?
no, the previous project.
Yeah.
So were the bubble to end up here, what would you guess the visual
I honestly don't
impacts
know
would
what
be?
the height of it,
Just to be clear, we're not permitting a bubble.
No, no,
It's
I
not
know.
part of the project.
Yeah.
60
would-
feet is not in our bylaw for height.
Yeah, okay.
And we would, I mean, obviously, we have to look at
Sure.
the tree covering around the
Yeah,
area. I mean,
okay. Thanks.
it would stick out a little bit, I guess, I don't know.
Any other questions? What do we have to do to follow up?
We just need more of the peer review comments and all the renderings that you just provided during this meeting.
Sure.
But other
There's
than that,
no reason why we can't vote this next time, right?
nope, I can
Yeah.
get things prepared.
Yeah.
So we'll work together to get all those comments so that we can
That'd be
finalize
great.
everything and have everything ready for the last review.
Yeah, this one's on a unique time frame only because we have athletic teams that come back in August, and this kind of work is great to do during the summer. We can get on this project, and if we can get in May, the sequencing of things, we're hoping to have a first homecoming football game on this in October with the whole system in, so appreciate that.
It will be the 1, 2, 3, 4.
We got 4.
Yeah, we have 4. Yeah.
All right, excellent. Thank you.
Yeah.
Appreciate it very much.
Before we do get into the other articles, I did note the items that we needed to vote on for the CIP if you were interested in doing that today, or we can wait.
Okay. Let's wait, let's move on. We saw the
Okay.
stuff to cover. So we're on to the public hearings for the zoning articles. The first 3 are our technical corrections, right? Okay, so let us look at these. So Article XX, Baldwin Street, amend zoning map. So can you explain each one to us?
Yep, so there was an Article 40 done in 1997 to turn that particular parcel into a residential zone, and it was never corrected on the zoning map. So we are looking to change it back to what it was originally supposed to be in 1997 as residential instead of general business.
And you're sure that's right? We're all sure that's right?
There's a residential dwelling on the actual property now. It's being taxed as a residential.
Yep, okay.
And again, that article was approved back in 1997 to do that.
Okay,
It just never got done.
okay. Does anybody have any questions on this one?
Are we going to have a problem when we don't have article numbers, voting on an article without the number?
So
I know.
that's why I sent
Yeah, I
out
know.
a revised agenda, because I guess the Board of Selectmen have decided to reorder all of the articles, and instead of referencing wrong numbers when we voted on them, we figured it would be more productive to at least have an article to amend without having a number and then
Okay.
getting all
I think
confused.
what you can do is,
Just
in
we'll-
the motion, just reference the description.
Description, yeah.
and then
Okay.
That would be okay. So I think this one is in good order if somebody wants to make a motion.
I'll make a motion to amend the zoning map for 24 Baldwin Street.
I
Map-
recommend favorable action, correct?
Yep,
On that,
yes.
that article.
for map 9, parcel 74, to
24
recommend
Baldwin Street.
favorable action.
Okay.
Second?
Motion made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, let's move on to the next one.
So the second one we're familiar with the CDD3. That was Article 38 of the 2008 annual town meeting. Changed that over to a residential zone, and that's where Stanton Woods is. I can pull that up on the map. And essentially, somewhere down the road, it was changed to a CDD3, but as we know, Stanton Woods is a subdivision and should be listed as a subdivision. So in 2009, it was correctly listed, And then once we go down to 2013, it becomes a CDD3. So there was some zoning map changes going on during that time, and so it was inadvertently changed and should be changed back to a residential zone.
Hopefully, we don't make a mistake like this again.
I was told there was some type of a whole zoning rehaul, and an intern was doing the zoning maps in 2012, and there was a whole bunch of different little mistakes that they had found after the fact.
Yeah, we found like 5 or 6.
Yeah.
Jean found 5 or 6 like the last 2 years, and this one came up last year.
Every meeting we've got.
Yeah.
We're gonna find some more.
I think we might, yeah.
Yeah, so, I guess. So would somebody like to make a motion on this one?
Move for, is it approval or recommendation?
Recommend favorable action.
Recommend favorable action on, let's see, the correction of the Corridor Development District 3 to correct the Corridor Development District originally approved within CDD 3 by Article 38 of 2008 Annual Town Meeting. Second.
Okay, and as enumerated in this whole package of stuff, right?
Yes.
So,
And
motion made and seconded, all in favor? Aye. Okay, the third technical one.
So this particular article deals with the fact that the state has passed an amendment to Mass General Law, Chapter 40A, Section 6, that required zoning bylaws to extend the time within a building permit or special permit must be exercised without having to comply with a subsequent zoning amendment. So we are changing the 6 that is currently in our bylaw to reflect 12. So I can put that up on the screen for you.
So this is just to be in conformity with state law, right?
That's correct. And it makes sense in terms of not less than 6 months in terms of construction, as we discussed at the last meeting.
Okay. Somebody want to make a motion on this one?
Well, it took me a long time on that other one.
Well, so you're going to have somebody, so I think the motion
Somebody else could do it
is,
better than me.
Motion for favorable action to amend the North Andover zoning bylaw, Section 10, as presented, 10.57.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, okay. So we're on to our last,
Would be the 2 citizen petitions.
the 2 citizen petition, okay. And is there anything before we start that we have to know before we do that?
That I'm aware of.
Okay, well then we'll let the applicant present.
Good evening. My name is Adam Barnowski. I'm an attorney for the property owner at 1600 Osgood. And I am Tom Lee, resident of North Andover, and I represent the landowner as well. So yeah, we're here to make a few changes to the zoning bylaw. If you want, I can go through each one, starting with 8.121. We have, I believe, provide some explanations to some of these, but the idea here is to create an overlay district at 1600 Osgood that would allow an applicant to, again, come before the planning board on a special permit eventually to operate a RMD cultivation facility there. So in starting with 8.121 establishment, we've changed the language to, currently the language says that in a medical marijuana overlay district, essentially, you can operate an RMD or whatever the underlying zoning permits. And because of the size of 1600 Osgood, the language has been changed to say that you could operate an RMD and another use that's allowed either in another overlay district or into the underlining zoning. So currently, we have office spaces there. There are other tenants that we have in the building. So this change would allow a cultivation facility exclusively, or if they have a cultivation facility for a part of the property, to also operate as currently used with tenant, office space, or other use that's allowed there. So that's the first change.
Will you be revising Section 8 and what it's titled? As it's supposed to be the medical marijuana overlay district in the supplementary regulations?
So are you talking about 8.121?
The first one, Section 8. You
There's a
have it
couple,
referenced as the medical marijuana treatment facilities.
there's a couple of suggested recommended changes that Jean Enright was looking at and was going to suggest to us, and she indicated that she would get them back to us when she gets back at the end of the week this week. I did meet with Jean, Eric, and Suzanne Egan, Town Council, and we were comfortable with all of the proposed language changes that she was suggesting, and she was going to compile them and get them back to us.
Okay.
Any specific questions on that section?
Can you elaborate a little bit on the changes in language you were referring to, just so that I'm following?
Yep, there was, the first one is that if you look up at the screen right now, that is our bylaw. Our bylaw refers to section 8.12 as the medical marijuana overlay district. If you look at the first paragraph at their suggestion, it does not refer to it as such. It refers to it as the medical marijuana treatment facilities. So it does not adequately reflect our bylaw.
So it's changing the terminology that we currently have in our bylaw?
Unless,
What's the point of that?
Yeah, Michael Rosen. It's just in the 8.12 in the caption and the title of the section. In our title of the section on the warrant article, we identified the title of the section as 8.12 medical marijuana. I believe the term we used was treatment facility instead of the words overlay district. So it is not changing the text of the language. It's just the caption and the heading.
But that is
But why?
part of our bylaw. Why would we change that from?
The warrant article was addressed as treatment facility. We're changing it to read overlay district to match your bylaw.
so that's an amendment that you've agreed to make to the
Correct.
actual.
It's not a change. We made a mistake in the language in the warrant. We're making the revision to to correct the language so that it identically matches the language you already have.
So can I just ask a question? So what you're saying is you're waiting for when Jean gets back, Jean Enright, she's going to give you suggested, and so next meeting, we're going to have the real, what you're
Yeah,
proposing.
We felt also that way if you had any other proposed changes this evening, we would incorporate those, sit, and address any and all at the same time.
So after that next meeting, do we have time after that before our town meeting? I mean, before we have to make our...
May 2nd.
So we have till May 2nd. Okay. So we have several meetings between now and then.
We actually have till May 16th.
You have to the
Yeah.
literally the day of the town meeting.
we
I'm just making sure, like, we're not doing anything now. Okay, I'm just
So,
trying to get my
Just
bearings.
repeat to see if I have this correct. The warrant, the proposal that we got from the applicant was not worded consistent with the wording of the bylaw. They've discussed it with Jean, and they've agreed to amend what they're proposing so that it will reflect the language in the bylaw.
Yes, that
Okay.
I'm aware of, but I'm not aware of her providing additional amendments at the end of the
So,
week
yeah,
or
I mean,
anything.
it's not our job to rewrite a citizen
Yeah,
article, we're not
that's not
gonna
what
do
I was
that.
aware
Let me-
of.
But, I mean, what I'm confused is, this is what's submitted, and is this going to change measurably? I mean, how many bites of
if
the
you-
apple do you get here? I
you
don't know,
would-
I mean, tell me, is this just gonna get replaced by something completely different?
if you'd like, I will relieve these two gentlemen who were not in the meeting with Gene and Town Council. There are, I believe, 4 changes that you will see in the final version in comparison to what you have in front of you. They are as follows. Number 1, the heading. We used the wrong heading. We are correcting the heading to match that heading. It is not a substantive change. Number 2, do you have the actual long warrant article?
It'd be the date of the map.
2 is the map, and there were some revisions to the map, including the date on the map. The revised map has been resubmitted. There was some question about identifying the meets and bounds. The town also had one of the tax map parcels wrong at the tax assessor's office. So we met and we corrected the town's tax records, and those changes are going to be reflected on the final map. It is not in any way, shape, manner, or form changing even 1 square foot the amount of the identified property. It is just identifying it better, because there are some inconsistencies between what's at the Registry of Deeds and what's in the town map parcel. Change number 3 is that in one of the articles, in Article I believe it's 8.12.4, we added language, and then we didn't show the rest of 8.12.4. So Gene's comment was that our way of deleting 8.12.4 or the balance of it? To which our answer was, no, it was not. If we had intended it to be deleted, we would have left it in but shown it with a line striking it out. It was just our intent to insert this provision. So she would like us to show the rest of the language but not stricken, to just verify that we're not striking a section. So again, I don't view it as a substantive change. It's putting your language from the balance of 8.12.4 in the text of the warrant without any changes to it. And the 4th change was, she is looking at the word facility as it is consistently used in the bylaw as already drafted, and she would like us to consider a different term than facility, or a better term for facility, and she is looking at it in the scope of the entire 8.12, in addition to the language that we added by our warrant article, and she was going to potentially propose a change to the term facility to make it, in her mind, flow more consistently. So those are the 4 changes.
Now I'm at the point where I'm totally confused. Because I thought what you were proposing was basically to throw out any of the limits in terms of size in the existing bylaw. But you've kept all the terminology about medical marijuana, but you're actually proposing a recreational marijuana thing, and it's on virtually unlimited sites. I'm totally. Remember when you came?
No recreational marijuana discussed at all.
Well, but you were talking about up to 1 million square feet.
That's just the property itself, and that's going to be encompassed under the zoning to allow for scale. But this is strictly for medical marijuana. There are no laws yet.
1 million square feet?
Yeah, because it says, the language still says, shall have a gross floor area less than 2,000 or in excess of 20,000 square feet. So that still stays. But I thought you were talking about a cultivation facility of 1 million square feet. So where does it strike those limits?
Okay, so
There's another addition. You're not seeing it.
I don't know. That's what I mean. That's why I'm confused. This is.
We only have one sheet.
We only have this one sheet that has all your changes. This is what got signed.
Last sentence of that sheet.
8.12.6 open parens 6, close parens, open parens B, close parens. Do you have that in front of you?
Yes.
Okay, so here's the proposal. The way that you have the bylaw drafted right now, you can use any medical marijuana use that is allowed by law in a facility from 2,500 square feet to 20,000 square feet.
2,500 square feet.
From 2,500 to 20,000. We want to change it so that if you go in excess of 20,000 square feet, you cannot sell or dispense. So what we want to do is a cultivation, research, and development facility, but no sale, no dispensary.
So the cleaner way to do it would have been to say there shall be no limits on the site of a cultivation facility, but facilities that sell have to be kept at 20,000. You have to be this is rather ambiguous. It's tortured. Instead of striking and starting over and being completely transparent. What? Well, that is the purpose.
It's vague, yeah.
Yeah, the purpose is to be vague.
No medical marijuana facility which sells or dispenses marijuana to the public from its facility shall have a floor area of less than 2,500 or in excess of 20,000 square feet. So that deals with the sales or dispensary. Any medical marijuana facility which is in excess of 20,000 square feet shall not sell or dispense to the public from any location on such property. So on a property, if you go between 2,500 and 20, you can do whatever is allowed under the medical law, but if you choose to go over 20, you can't sell. I don't know.
I think somebody could build a case that as long as they didn't sell from the same building that wasn't in the medical marijuana facility, they could do it.
Cannot sell or dispense to the public from any location on the property. So we couldn't go and open a second facility on the property. Once we build our grow floor, we can't sell on the property anywhere.
What about the parcels in your A&R?
They're not in the overlay district. We're taking them out.
Yeah.
So we couldn't sell from any other parcel because they're not going to be in the overlay district. That's why we only picked one parcel, we amended the boundaries, and we are only asking for that one parcel to be in the overlay district.
So we could just say, instead of property, we could say overlay district.
That's the new one.
You could say within the overlay district as opposed to on the property.
Please.
Which is a little bit more specific.
I mean, we added the words on the property after discussion with the town. That was a recommendation that we got from the
But
town.
once you take property out by an A&R, then they're not on the property, technically.
No, the property we're
right?
taking out in the A&R isn't in the overlay.
It won't be covered under the overlay district,
We're
so...
pulling,
So you could sell right next door?
No.
no, it's not
Because
going to
it's
be in the overlay
continuous.
district.
Okay, wait, before,
Yeah, go ahead.
yeah, can you, so within the orange line, this is the only parcel property that's being put, that you're proposing to put into the medical marijuana overlay
Correct.
district?
Yes,
So anything outside of that is still staying outside of it?
correct.
Okay.
But why cut out those little pieces? I'm confused.
So we cut out two pieces.
Why?
There's a difference between the state law and your town law. The state law says you cannot have a cannabis use between, in facilities within 500 feet of a place where children congregate. Your town law says you cannot have a cannabis facility within 500 feet of a property in which children congregate. Behind this parcel is a police station, and behind the police station is a property that's 491 feet from the property line where children do gymnastics. So we took that out. So we made it about 1,000 feet away from where the children do
So
gymnastics.
by doing this, are you preventing the other property owners, like that are across the street on 125, from operating their kind, a business that children would congregate? I mean, once you do this.
Yes,
then-
as a matter of state law, if somebody wanted to come and open a school, say, across the street,
They
would
couldn't.
not be able to do it. They would have to go 500 feet away from the property.
So you're affecting the whole corridor now.
Yeah, well, that's something to,
Well, it's important.
well, it is something important. It's something to reflect, because it's not just a right for the landowner here, it's an exclusion of a right for.
all the other landowners around
Yeah.
it.
And then the second parcel is a
I
parcel
didn't pick that up.
that we allow to be used for the annual carnival. While we would argue that it is not a place where children regularly congregate, because the carnival is only like 2 days a year, we felt as though we should take that parcel of land and take it outside of the property, and then leave it to the town's discretion of whether or not they felt as though it was okay to have a 2-day carnival there or not. That is land that we donate and we allow people to use on goodwill, but we felt as though it would be more appropriate to take it out of the parcel.
And the soccer field?
The soccer fields are not in the orange at all. They are on the other side. They're over here. I'm sorry, they're over here. But eventually, the soccer, the sports programs will go away there.
So you're getting rid of the soccer fields.
Yes. Yeah.
What about laser craze?
We will have to negotiate with Laser Craze.
Well, you can't negotiate, right? I mean, it's children there, so how do you negotiate?
Some adults play too.
And what?
Some adults play laser
Yeah,
tag too.
all right. I don't know.
Okay. I mean, the site is set up for something like this. I mean, for research development. I don't think any of us really like the concept of being known as one of the largest medical marijuana. And we also know that from town council's letter that you automatically get recreational if you get medical, essentially. My concern, I have two major concerns. One is signage. I don't want Weed Inc. on the sign out front or something like that. I mean, there's some very classy pharmaceutical medical marijuana names, just like we don't allow Camel cigarettes to be advertised to children anymore.
I don't think we would have any problem with that. Again,
There's Be Well and some stuff, but then there's other, some which is like Herbs Are Us, dispensaries opening up. I mean, well, it's true though. I mean, I've seen both sides of it. I've seen classy ones and tacky ones. And John's Weed Inc.
No, I mean,
No, I know.
I was just in Colorado, so.
So you saw both sides of it, probably, right?
I haven't seen any nice ones.
Okay, yeah.
So we are cognizant of this, and we understand that right now, all we're in front of you for is to look at the bylaw.
Right.
But we want to make sure that you're clear, that we're clear. Those are all the regulations we're going to have to satisfy along the way before we actually come back with an actual facility and an actual plan. And it will include, in one of the sections, coming back before this board and having to get site plan review and special permit. So we know signage is an issue.
Unfortunately, I don't think we have anything currently in there that says, because this is something that we don't have anything that covers names of companies we don't like,
Again, their goal, and you will see this as this evolves over the next month or so, is to make this a state-of-the-art research and development center that has cannabis at its core, but we're looking right now to pair with educational institutions, pharmaceutical companies, medical device and testing companies, and we're looking to pair with some of the best and brightest minds in the world that are doing research and development in this field and in this area. So we would not want that as part of the building, because we want to create, I guess what would be similar to like a medical campus. And that's the goal, that's the approach that we're going for.
I appreciate that, that's what you say, but, we've all been told stuff in the past from hundreds of applicants that they don't want to see something, and then when they present it to us, it's totally different. We see this all the time. Is there anything we can put in here for some sort of assurances in the host agreement or to negotiate naming and signage? Because, you already have a right, by right, to put things up on that pillar out front.
Well,
It
so-
wouldn't be even, we wouldn't be able to
So-
stop it in the medical marijuana.
There are regulations that govern what you can put in marijuana signage right now, in the names and in the identification of marijuana. I don't know exactly what they are, but I will get a copy of them and I'll bring them to the next meeting. Because we did look at this when we looked at names for the nonprofit entity that would be doing this. We want to make sure that we're not doing something that violates the law. The name of the entity is going to be Valley Green Grow. Okay? So we tried to find something tasteful, something not using the term cannabis, not using the term marijuana, paying some respects to the Merrimack Valley.
Then the second thing is we all know you have a very large property. And by right, again, the proposed regulations that are coming out for recreational is you will have a right to open recreational. What does it stop you from subdividing this property up 20, 30 more times and putting in a dispensary, a recreational dispensary?
We have no intention of putting it in a dispensary.
I understand no
all right,
intention,
Yeah,
but-
so right now, for every one cultivation site, and you can only get one cultivation site, you can get 3 dispensaries.
Mm-hmm.
So at the end of the day, the property owners are going to get to sell at 3 locations.
Mm-hmm.
They have a property that's got a 1 million square foot manufacturing floor that's sitting idle.
Mm-hmm.
If they have the ability to use that manufacturing floor and produce a volume that they would like to produce, selling in a suburban or rural setting is not going to accomplish that. We're meeting right now with city officials in Boston and Medford. In and about the city, we are looking for locations that are urban locations. Again, I think that the 20,000, that was the point of the 20,000 foot rule. We are open to proposed language that even strengthens that. We have no intention of selling retail on that site. We do not want to do it.
How can we guarantee that?
Proposed language that you'd like us to add into the warrant article, and we are happy to add it.
And,
But just, sorry.
I
But
think
it's
we
not-
thought we did it by putting the regulation in
no,
that's...
because you can A&R the property to death, as we've seen right here. You have enough frontage, you can do A&Rs on it, and then that property will be in a different ownership.
Yeah, I don't
and-
know that we would be able to get much more of an A&R just based on where the building is, because we would need a variance, because we would have no setbacks to divide the building.
Yeah.
I mean, we would have to literally tear down the building.
Wow.
So if we're using the building and we're growing inside one building, we're not going to be able to A&R that building. So
No, but
again,
you-
that's why we tried to carve off the frontage. But again, if this board would like to propose language that says within this parcel, there shall never be retail sales, I don't think we have an objection with it. It's not our goal.
Or, I mean,
Or the person.
or the owner has a right, and then they put a retail, somewhere else they buy the property across the street. I mean, I know that's sort of moot point, but because but if we allow medical marijuana, we're actually saying you have a right to do this before we know what the laws are out, essentially. You get your 3 licenses. So if we don't allow this, then we don't have those 3 licenses out there right now with a head
But
start.
the way the law reads, we would only have a license recreationally for those activities that we would have a registration for under the medical. It is solely for those activities.
Right.
So if we cannot get a medical sales license on that property, we couldn't get a recreational sales license on that property. We don't want, so if you want to put a restriction on the property, I mean, interestingly enough, our proposal to the town on a moratorium was to put a moratorium on all retail sales in the town. I don't believe town council believed that that would stand up to the AG regulations on what you can and can't adopt a moratorium on. So, but we're happy to put it. We'll put a covenant on our property. We don't want to be selling marijuana from this property.
But the concern isn't just this property. The concern is in the town. Because, correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, that's what
That
I'm
the owner of the facility or whatever gets 3 licenses, right? So it's not just about on this property, you could buy, whoever owns this could buy a piece of property on 114 next.
But you don't have an overlay district anywhere else in town. This is your own.
But I don't think that the overlay is not going to control recreational facilities.
If that's correct, okay, if that's correct, then the people growing in Methuen can come and sell on 114 in North Andover. The people growing in Boston can come sell. The people growing down in Norton.
Recreational, they may be able to with recreational, but we don't, but by doing the medical, we're giving someone a head start in town.
But
I know.
But there were already people out there growing that are already out there that could do it, and we're sitting here in front of this town.
That's why the selectmen, I think, are looking at a moratorium on the recreational, so we can see what the bylaws are, and maybe,
Right.
you know.
I mean, again, at the end of the day, we believe we have a phenomenal facility. It could get us a head start in the industry, which could help generate significant tax revenue to the town. And we are willing to put on any restriction that the town would like us to put on that prohibits retail sales on our property. If you think you can adopt a moratorium throughout the entire town that prohibits retail in the town, we will stand up at town meeting and support it. We don't have any issue with that whatsoever. If you can do it, great. And again, now, we made the same recommendation to the town.
Correction, I'm saying recreational for cultivation or anything like that. I'm fine with medical. Recreational is a different story. I mean, you keep saying it's medical cultivation. Are you planning on recreational cultivation?
We're going to see where the laws go. We're going to see. I mean,
Yeah,
there
okay.
could be a.
I'm all for medical, but I'm not a fan of recreational, I don't think. I think cigarettes with kids are the same
How could you
thing.
possibly, if you were doing 1 million square feet, tell whether it went to medical or to recreational?
Well, they actually have to
well-
track the plant and the suites and all
Why
this stuff,
does
so
it
they
have to
do.
be for the whole
Yeah.
thing? Why
Yeah.
does it have to be
Because
a
once we
million
build in any
square?
portion of it, we can't essentially, we're going to be effectively preventing other uses in other portions of the property. What you have to do for security, what you have to do for handling, for treatment, that you now can't have gymnastics, that you couldn't have a laser craze, that you can't put an educational institution in there. Once you put 50,000 square feet on that manufacturing floor,
Right.
your manufacturing floor is now cannabis.
But then by doing this, you've essentially defeated the whole idea of what this overlay was intended to do, right? With the mixed use.
Oh, that's
and
gone.
the-
I mean,
right.
they've-
But
Well,
this kills it.
So
This
I'm
is
going to
the
give you
final-
I'll give you some examples of some things that can be done, okay? We're meeting with greenhouse companies that want to come and study efficiencies and economics in growing. We're meeting with lighting and electrical manufacturers who want to come here and use this as a research and development center to study high-energy efficient lighting. We have a substation. We have solar energy here. We have our own power plant. There are all these different things that can be done in research and development. We're negotiating with pharmaceutical companies that would consider coming here and doing testing at the facility. We're meeting with research and development institutions, hospitals, who would consider coming here and putting in offices, high-paying jobs, lab technicians, researchers, doctors, and people that would use this kind of like, a satellite of a college where you would be doing high-end educational-based activities.
And you're only
All
willing to come
related to
here.
weed.
All related to the marijuana.
Related to a pharmaceutical product, yes.
All related to marijuana?
Yes.
Yes, okay. So none of this pharmaceutical use or lighting use or any of that would have a purpose other than
Marijuana.
related to marijuana? There might be some
No,
incidental benefit.
well,
but yeah.
some of the agricultural uses, the recapture of water, the use of lighting, energy, studying energy techniques, indoor growing, that potentially could be transportable to any other agricultural use.
For instance, we have a company that's interested in developing a breathalyzer for THC. So for the police department to be able to take a test on the side of the road, which doesn't exist right now, which I know is a big concern in the state, because right now we don't have the ability to do that. And recreational marijuana is here. We're going to have the opportunity in this facility, and we already should have a memorandum of understanding with this company that we'll be able to share with you in the coming weeks. For a company to come in here, do the research, develop this breathalyzer, and be able to use that, in this state and beyond. So those are the types of things that are connected to cannabis that we can research and study for the greater good.
But how does that work? If you're growing it, how does someone take the growth of it to do that. I mean, they'd have to be smoking it into a breathalyzer to invent this. I don't see how that translates.
So the researchers can actually pull the compounds from the plant and study it. I mean, it's already happening in other countries where it's been legal for medical use for 15 years. Places like Israel that have been studying it, other European countries that are ahead of us in the studying, but we have, the research that we have in this state, the opportunities that we have here by having access to the plant, both for medical research, for things like developments of breathalyzers, to research what impairment is, because right now we don't even have regulations to see, with alcohol it's 0.80, 0.08 for blood alcohol content. Right now there's nothing that exists on the spot that allows to test.
Anywhere, it doesn't measure.
They're also developing other drugs throughout the world, like they use some of the compounds taken out of cannabis plants, and they're developing drugs and medication to treat things like epilepsy, stomach disorders. It's a plant that has more compounds in it than any other plant out there, and around the world there are patents being developed and there are drugs being developed that if we had a facility like this that has the office, that has all of the other facilities that this does, it's the ability to use the state-of-the-art building that has...
I get it. I am against the size of it.
Well, got it. We got it. We understand what you're saying. So, okay. Anything more we need to do tonight? It feels to me you got to come back with what the damn thing is going to look like, because we can't vote on anything unless we have something.
This is true, but is there any other language revisions that you would like to make? At this point in time, he's only recommended 4 of them that he says that he's agreed to with.
Agree to retail. I think we need more information on recreational for our town council.
Okay.
I do think we do. Yeah, we should invite town council.
Signage, because we missed that the first time around.
I kind of wish she had actually reached out to me about this.
I think she should be here next time.
Yeah.
Suzanne? All right, and I will also talk to her in advance so that we have proposed language for you at the next meeting.
Okay.
That you want language that prohibits medical or recreational retail sales on this parcel.
Correct.
Yeah.
I think we have questions. I mean, we have to digest this also, okay?
Yeah.
I don't like on the spot
Yeah,
saying, if you make 5 changes, we're going to be fine. That's not what we're saying.
And we're not saying...
I mean, what,
and it's
the
one-
normal magnitude
council,
of something like this is we take a year or 2 to study it, but you came at the very end of the process. You didn't even do it at the beginning of the planning process, came at the very end, and this is what we have. So this is, we have to compress a lot of stuff into an extremely short period of time.
Is there any public comment?
I don't know, Sarah, you were the public here, so do you have any comment on this one?
Not at the moment.
Okay.
Discovery is really,
Well, you can come back next time, Chip.
Yeah,
I'd like to.
yeah.
And just, we just launched a website that's got a ton of great information, and we're going to continue to update it over the coming weeks as we have new partners
So,
coming on board.
What's it called?
It's theosgoodproject.org.
No spaces, no hyphens,
Yeah,
no periods.
theosgoodproject.org.
As we get partners, as we get teammates, everything we get as we get it is going to get uploaded onto that site. So check in every couple of days, and to the extent we get a memorandum of understanding, a letter of intent with a partner, anything that's interesting that would, provide you relevant information, we will be uploading it to the site.
Okay, great, thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Would you give one of these to Rebecca?
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Or Bonnie?
Okay.
Because you handed it out, so that's what it is now. Okay.
Where's your agenda? I buried my agenda. Gave your agenda here.
Next discussion item is another warrant article to accept grants of easements and allows the school committee and the board of selectmen to do so.
Okay, yeah, those are you don't know of any specific, I mean, those are just boilerplate articles.
Yes, on the screen, that's the language that is proposed in terms of the
So does somebody want to, is grants and what's the other one for receive?
grants of easements.
No, there's two separate ones, right?
Yep, there's the
There's
grants
for and which is the other one?
and authorization to grant
Okay,
easements.
so it's give and get. Okay, so would somebody like to make a motion on Article 4?
That's under discussions. I think we should just carry it over to the next meeting, shouldn't we, since it's not on the agenda?
These ones don't have to be, they don't have to be noticed, because they're not zoning articles.
But I think because we have it on discussions, we should just move it up to the agenda and just vote it next time, shouldn't we?
Okay, if you want, it doesn't matter. I mean, it's a 5-second item.
No, I
We're
know.
just trying to
Okay.
get the report with all
Okay.
of the unfavorable and favorable comments prior to the printing. So if we could do it now, we can, but if not, we
Okay.
can wait until the next meeting.
Okay. What else?
And then the other one was the community preservation.
I wasn't ready to talk about that tonight.
Okay,
so
then
we'll do it the
leave
next
that until
time.
next
after.
time.
I mean, we have all of our articles, but I don't even have the one-pager for everybody. But I'm going to the selectmen on Monday and the finance committee on Wednesday, I think, something like that.
Okay, so we'll hold on that till the next meeting.
Yeah.
And then the next one would be the recreational marijuana moratorium. If you wanted to discuss that further, you've discussed a little bit of that originally.
That's what we have to bring.
That's what we'll be opening for
Staff
public
council,
hearing
right? Yeah.
on the 18th. So that's the new one that hasn't been
Yep.
heard. And now you have just your meeting minutes.
What's that?
Meeting minutes.
Meeting minutes. Minutes, seconds.
I'll make a motion to approve the March 21st, 2017 meeting minutes as presented.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anything else? Motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Oh, see, now also they know how to make motions. when it's
All in
a two-term.
favor?
I hate making motions.
Aye?
Aye.
Okay.